Welcome to another edition of HCCS United Podcast. Today I am with Jarod Hammel, Associate Principal at Huntington North High School, and Lynn Brown, Assistant Principal at Huntington North High School. Well, today I'm so excited to have both you, Mr. Hammel, and you, Ms. Brown, to join me. We're going to talk about the 2025 class SAT scores, and we've got some truly exciting news to share today with our public. And so let's just get into the details of this. First of all, let's just talk about how our kids did in the class of 2025 with the SAT scores. And let's just first of all look at English language arts and math together. So Lynn, I'll start with you then.
Start with you. So we have great news.
Yeah.
Our kids' scores for both English and the math at the mean score is above the state average if we look at all public schools.
Right.
And it is tied if we look at all public schools and private and charter schools in the state of Indiana. So our kids did pretty well comparatively.
Wow. So what you're saying is, regardless of the school, whether they're private or public, our kids scored as well, you know, on average as those kids in those buildings did
across the state. That's correct.
And then I've heard some statistics nationally where if you figure that in nationally, we're in the top 27% in the country.
That is correct. That is correct.
Amazing.
According to U.S. News and World Report.
According to U.S. News and World Reports. Well, let's get into some of the reading and writing scores there, Jarod. Talk to us about that. How did our kids do there?
Sure. I guess speaking of, reading and writing is really multidisciplinary. That's what's important to keep in mind. I often, even still talking with our students and staff, still talk about English class, but really we've seen there's science reading, there's a number. So the College Board assesses a student's college readiness. So if we're just to talk about the essentials of the test here at the start, College Board is checking to see if our students are college ready. We know in our student body that hopefully about a third of them are college bound, but there's also students who are going to get certifications and the wonderful programs we often talk about at our Learning Center. So we're fortunate, we feel like, to be a really dynamic building where we're not ramming this test through to all of our students. We really want to serve that third of them really, really well. We want to get 100% of those students want to go to college across that college ready benchmark. So one data point that I want to share that I think is really significant is on the PSAT that these juniors took in the fall. Number one, we allow our juniors to opt in. So they're at the age where they should express a desire to take a college test or be college bound and see where they're at. 38 of our kids met benchmark in October. 3.5 school months later, at the very first week of March, we were up to 68 of our kids benchmark and being college ready. So that's just a little bit extra exposure in their English classes. You make significant strides in January and February in your math content knowledge. So really, it's very exciting in both of those areas, not just the evidence-based reading.
Well, we scored a 483 in reading and writing, and the state average was a 483. Right in there. So it states just what you were talking about. Lynn, let's talk a little bit about math. Walk us through what we learned about our SAT and math scores, if you would.
So our math team is super excited. Not only did they do well this year, but the department chair walked into an English department meeting and said, "We beat you and we're going to do better than you next year."
Yeah.
And Mr. Crozier is not that kind of guy, but they are fired up. So our mean score is 464. The state mean score is 456. So we beat the state by quite a bit, including if you look at the private and the charter schools, they're at 460. So we even beat them. We are about 6 points away from the national average, the national mean score. So we are coming hard in math.
Gaps.
Our math teachers have spent the last few years looking at the 6 published practice tests, and they have torn apart those tests, and they're like, this question goes to algebra, this question goes to geometry, this question goes to algebra 2, and then they've embedded those questions throughout the year. English and math both use Khan Academy practice pieces from October on. We were able to get that through a grant. And so from October through March, they sprinkled those kind of questions in those practice pieces and then taught kids how they could use it on their own to drive their score up if they want to get those really high scores.
Just outstanding results from the math too. So
amazing results. And you know well that math shouldn't have a higher score than English. That doesn't happen very often.
In other words, we've closed a lot of gaps in the last couple of years and now started to bypass so many others in that process. Jarod, talk to us about why the SAT. You know, our community may not completely understand why the SAT test. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
The SAT is a mandatory test that all juniors will take. That's state law. We go to great lengths over a 2-week window that College Board gives us to test every student. I will share you, I'm not here to throw any other districts under the bus, but I would challenge anybody. We did have 2 students who, because of significant issues, didn't test. Now, we have opportunities for them to take it on Saturdays and things, but our school data, I'd love for us to remember, we really work hard to go after every student and make sure that they have a chance at school day test. I don't know that that's not the case elsewhere, but I also don't really and I'm not fully confident that that is the case. So we do test every student, whether they're college bound or not, regardless of where they're at in their academic plan towards their path towards a diploma. Now the students, they learn this and we educate them to take some of that stress off. We tell our students that your graduation is not necessarily connected to this. You can check the box for your graduation pathway a whole number of ways. It's one of the beautiful things about the Indiana diploma is that kids don't have to meet benchmark on a really difficult, rigorous SAT test to get a diploma. We have programs for them, and they're going to be just as productive a Viking graduate as anyone else. But we do take it serious. We try to create a really good environment for our testers, those who are college bound and those who are not. And there's a slide that we can put up there that shows how our college bound math students, at least if they're in a college tracking class, algebra 2 and above, 100% of our calculus students are meeting benchmark. Wow. That's something to be proud of, right?
Absolutely.
You can have a passion for math but not really be driven to want to do well in the SAT. 100%. We're nearly 100% in AP pre-calc. We're really, really good in the downstream classes from that. And then you get to algebra 2, which is that tipping point class where kids are kind of trying to figure out where am I going to go with
absolutely.
Algebra 2 is traditionally that difficult, grinded out class. And the data shows that, but we're getting a good number of those students through as well. And I think it's only going to continue to improve under the new Indiana diploma and students not having to take Algebra 2. It's going to allow us to raise that bar even further a couple years down the road once we have all the college kids in that class. So I think there's good things to come.
Good. Ms. Brown, we've talked a lot about our students and we are truly, truly proud of them, but there's another group of people that we need to say thank you to. And our teaching staff here has worked really hard at helping our kids be successful. Talk to those. You got a couple points you want to make with that.
For sure. When we found out the SAT was going to be the test, we all had a collective moment of panic, right? That seemed like an impossible hurdle. And then we realized that we had a target that wouldn't move anymore. And once we had that target and we figured out what was on the test, we felt like we could make ground. Our math and English teachers have worked tirelessly to understand what's on the test and then how to tie that to the standards and make sure that every kid has what they need to prepare. Our math, English, social studies, science teachers are looking for those questions because, as Hammel talked about this a moment ago, lots of that complex text that's in the test is actually science questions or social studies questions, and we can't teach it all, but can we teach kids how to look at those questions and understand and decode what's in the question and answer it well? People across this building, every teacher's looked at the test 3 times to my count so far to look at how can we support kids no matter what class you're in. And so the teachers have worked incredibly hard, and they're actually kind of fired up about these test scores and are looking to improve year after year.
Yeah, you compare these to where we were just a couple years ago to where we're at today. It's unbelievable, the growth that's happened here. Mr. Hammel, Ms. Brown, thank you. I appreciate both of you and what you're doing to lead this building in what we're trying to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you.